changes.
Everybody hear me?
Yes, all is good.
Okay, it is Thursday, 18th of September, and we're here for our regular board work session. I will go ahead and call us to order. I show present at the meeting, Director David Ligatich, Director Chris Howitt, Dr. Sean Barnes, Director Brenna Fudabar, and myself. We have an agenda, and I would welcome a motion.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. Any discussion? None? Okay, so we have an agenda.
Can we vote on it?
Oh, yeah, we should. Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I should that as unanimous.
Opposed.
Okay,
Okay, ask any
thank you.
opposed?
Any opposed? No.
Okay.
Now we should have got unanimous. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so first item on our agenda is the policy review, first reading, and that has Don Cook's name.
Thank you. Vice Chair, Chair, what do we call you tonight? Okay.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair.
Polly's
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
All right. We have 3 policies to review with the group. We met last was it last Friday? Yeah, last Friday. Time is flying for sure. Last Friday to review these. First one is personal electronic devices, and then a suggestion for deletion from OSBA of early graduation, and then graduation exercises updates. The personal electronic devices is first. I'll review that with you. I will own up front, there was a second update sent to us that we didn't review with the committee. So I'm gonna show you some of those changes in that second update. So the group can consider that. They're not substantive, but you do need to know that. So if you're looking at that policy in your packet or on your computer at this point, the highlighting of yellow, correct, Sarah?
Correct.
Yellow are things that you didn't have a chance to read when we were in policy committee. So tonight we can look at those things.
Okay.
The other things are pretty straightforward. It's language the committee suggested and considered for you to review. I'll give you a couple minutes to look at the cell phone, or excuse me, electronic device policy.
And I will state, just as I get that, on page 3, there's some brackets and that language just was not bracketed when we reviewed it.
Thank you.
Is that the yellow stuff on page 3?
Yeah, so the bottom paragraph was not there, but then the paragraph that's with the superintendent or in accordance with Hale, those were not in brackets, that was just a normal sentence.
Okay.
In the first paragraph, there's bracketed information about personal, that it could be used when they're on school grounds. Is that an optional thing, or is that what we've selected?
In the first paragraph where student use of a personal electronic device, is that the paragraph you're referring to, Sean?
Yeah, it says personal, like, it's the brackets are personal electronic.
Oh, the last sentence of the first paragraph.
Last sentence, personal electronic, that is one for considering. We can adopt or not take that. So it's coming forward.
So the green is strike throughs and that's
Yep.
what the committee reviewed.
Yep.
So that would be that bracket they took off and they're gonna keep, maybe kept by students in lockers.
Yep.
Backpacks, or stored on the student's person.
Yeah, and in our discussion, the committee considered that language is fine.
Yeah, that's
And
what
should keep,
I like.
yeah.
That. You don't need to do pouches.
On the new highlighted yellow on page 2 at the top,
Mhm.
where it talks about discipline,
Mhm.
and it adds, including, let's see, it took out Saturday school, so it included a change to storage requirements. It's,
Yeah, what we had discussed in the group was, we're not gonna go searching kids' persons. They may have them in their pocket even though they're not supposed to. But if there are repeated, requests to not use the phone, then we could probably require them to store it in their lockers, store it in the office. Other places that the school may have options to, so they don't have access to it.
I don't normally see et cetera as in policy. Just because et cetera then is kind of.
Okay, so
It is often.
Et cetera.
We-
Is it?
I think in the committee and we did settle on et cetera in the committee.
That's right.
My reason that I think it's cetera in this case is fine, because you could come up with a ton of different options in a building. and leave
And
that
if they
creativity
list
to them.
one, then they would say, well, you didn't put that one. in."
Right.
Yeah, I think it gives the teachers leeway to
Mhm.
manage it
Admin as
Okay.
in
well.
their, what
And
works
help
best for their
Keep the
class.
child rather
Yeah.
than just punish. Okay, all right.
So, I mean, just looking over it and thinking back to when I was a teacher here, it's basically the exact same policy that we had
When we were in school.
when, well, like when I was teaching here, where it was like, well, you have it on you. If the teacher sees it, it's a warning, and then if the teacher sees it
Yes.
again, it's.
Take it.
Taking that one, yes, it is, and our middle schools and elementaries have been operating this way for a long time, the high schools have not. So it's not a big shift K through 8, but taking that one step further, and I just lost my train of thought. What the secondaries want leeway on is, it's really hard if a first period teacher tells a student to put their phone away, that's the first warning. And then you get the fourth period and the student does it again.
Yeah.
So the secondaries have added to their policy in building, not here, that first time they may end up just taking it, so they don't have to work through that communication challenge. So legally, they can do that, they can enhance policy, they just can't do less than what the policy says.
So when I read this for the first time a couple days ago, one thing I didn't see is how. What is the storage policy? Like, what are they doing with the phones?
The phones are a lot, the executive order says keep them in their backpacks, lockers, other places.
Okay.
Students are keeping them in their pockets, but like I said, we don't wanna search kids' persons all the time to find out if they're in their pockets, it's just too invasive. So, but those are the options that they have.
Okay.
If they get their phone taken, it's stored in the office. They can get it at the end of the day, and if it's repeated, parents have to come get it, but I haven't heard yet that we've had that challenge. Kids have been pretty compliant with the policy so far.
And you know, on the very end, the last paragraph, it's sad that we need it, that we are in a world where we have to do this, but I do think
I think
that
that's the
is
crux.
necessary.
Agreed.
Language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's good to keep in. It wasn't in the copy that we considered in the policy committee. That's obviously an addition, but I agree that it should stay. Or I recommend
Yeah.
that it should stay.
And then do we need, I guess we don't need that policy effective date at all. No, because we are currently doing this policy.
Yeah, and we
Yes.
crossed
And that
that,
kind of stuff
we were
has
like,
been
well, by the time
Yeah,
it gets approved.
because
it's
we
gonna
got
be a
the
moot point.
deadline, it had to be by
Yeah.
that date.
Yes.
If we get it in place sooner, that's one way, that was a conversation.
And I think I shared this with the broader group. We didn't want to start the year one way, change mid-year. That's why we started right away.
My proposal to the board is, this is something that we currently do. It's not, you know, it's not changed from the beginning of the year. There may be some changes from, is this one of those policies where we just like, let's just activate it, you know, approve this one, you know? Yes, it's the first reading, but is it like one of those?
I think we can, the point was to put it on the October meeting and approve it in the consent agenda, but it's
We can.
district.
And what is that? That's just a couple weeks away.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it then too. I'm just saying like,
Yeah.
you know,
Do you
The only,
feel like that would be helpful or, you know, have a preference? District.
I think a little bit of what's going through my head is because of the publicity around this, is there any reason to have this as a standalone action item at a business meeting? Or, and I don't know how much discussion you'd really have about it, but there's a little bit of me that's wondering about that.
as opposed to consent agenda. And I'm uncomfortable doing it here, just because we don't typically do unless it's really urgent. And if they're doing something already, then
We are.
this is not going to change what they're doing. It just solidifies what it is that they're working on. And then I don't know about what do you think about having it to? Because if it's in consent agenda, we don't talk about it.
Right.
But that could be a superintendent report.
It could, and
Yeah.
that, maybe that's the solution, leave it in consent.
I would lean towards that, because
Chat about
I
it.
would say our policy, we have a process for our policies. And if we start just pulling out random policies to have separate actions, it kind of defeats the.
Well, and I
process we've
think
set up.
we released this as a district pretty widespread,
We did.
start the school year.
Yep.
Schools, parent square, and now, you know, so it won't be new to
Right.
families if they have
Everyone's-
questions. Yeah.
already live in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
I think that's all right.
If we were getting resistance from families and parents, it would be helpful.
Yeah, if
to
you
do that.
needed
We're not
more
getting-
solidified, approved.
Right,
That makes sense.
Will this end up being a bigger conversation when like that January date actually hits and everybody is all on board? And I know that we're doing this now. Does that?
I
make sense?
think almost every district in the state has jumped in right away and just started doing it. We meet with the Big Tens. I know the Big Tens that I'm meeting with,
Like
we have.
half of them.
That started.
Really?
And it's one of the questions, just like what Portland ran into, are they gonna have a couch to put
They are
in
not.
versus pocket? And
Yeah.
we're not gonna do, we're not gonna do that.
I was talking with the principal from Lincoln High School last week, and that he said the pouches are a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're $30 a piece.
Yeah.
No way. No.
Someone's gonna get their phone stolen or taken or lost or.
When we take it, there's cabinets in the middle schools. I don't know what they purchase at the high school, so it can be stored, locked in the main office, so it's secure.
Okay, so we'll move
Okay.
that one to the consent agenda at the October business meeting and then two more, right?
Yep.
Just real quick, is there a decision point on page 3? Where you have the two brackets that are in yellow? I mean, it can read appeals can be filed with the superintendent in accordance with AL
I think that's.
4.
That's what I read
So
before.
I'd
That's
say
why I
we-
thought
have to do
it
one
was
or the
weird that
other.
it had brackets.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we adopt that too.
Good clarification.
Yeah,
That's a good.
it's
use of it.
consistent so that kids aren't going or don't know where to go. It's
And it has a
stays
timeline.
consistent.
What we talked about in the committee though, too, when you come to timelines, timelines are different in the AR and executive order. My recommendation to you is gonna be, once this is adopted, is that we align timelines, AR, executive order, a whole bit, so that we're all on the same page.
Makes sense.
Next policy is IKFA, early graduation. It's recommended to be deleted. The elements of this, the important elements of early graduation were moved to graduation requirements in an adoption. I can't remember when you all adopted, it's about a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So that's why they're recommending deletion. It's redundant. Any questions on that one?
That was gonna be my questions. Why?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Graduation exercise updates, you can see they're pretty straightforward. There wasn't a lot of detailed discussion in the committee. Most of this made sense to the committee, so I'll give you a minute or two to review it, and then we can talk if you have questions.
So. There's verbiage down here about an honorary diploma on, in the fourth paragraph in. But it's not in the first paragraph that lists all the different opportunities, like, should it be in both places?
Honorary, a modified diploma, extended diploma, a certificate, or, is that where we are?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that honorary diploma is not in the first paragraph where all of these options are listed.
I think with an honorary diploma, you don't necessarily have requirements, right? That's more of a. You want to give an honorary diploma to,
An adult
So
did a lot of
and so
volunteer time, or if a person passed, served in the military,
yeah,
it doesn't have any requirements.
Well, but wouldn't it, well, to me, it's almost should be flipped then, because if there is no requirements. Cause it says successfully completed requirements for,
Oh, yeah.
and then it lists that, but up top, it's just talks about how it's an
The very
achievement,
last
improves the
sentence.
community. Except, you know.
Yeah, I think it's saying all of those other things require successful completion or program requirements. Or there's an honorary diploma that doesn't require those things.
And then.
And both can participate in graduation exercises.
Is the honorary one though, where you didn't get to do it because you were in the military and you can come back now and you can participate. We've had one or two.
The
I'm not
military,
disagreeing with, I'm just
Oh, there
saying,
we go. Where would it?
I'm just saying, if it's in this paragraph, shouldn't be in the first paragraph where it lists everything. Cause this one lists requirements, this one being the fourth paragraph, lists successfully completed the requirements.
Mhm.
Whereas the first one talks about it's a benefit to the community. So if we're saying that it's a benefit to the community for somebody to get a honorary diploma because they didn't get an opportunity because the military, shouldn't it be up there too? Or if, since there is no requirements, should it be stricken from down below and then added up top where it talks about the benefits to the
Yeah,
community?
I see what you're saying.
so let me suggest some wording, see if that gets us to where we need to be. So take out honorary diploma in that fourth paragraph. And add, we could add it. The board believes that completion of the requirements for diploma, modified diploma, and extended diploma or certificate of attendance or an honorary diploma. And insert there, Tracy's shaking her head.
And my hesitation is
Yeah.
those others are spelled out with requirements in the graduation requirement
Yep,
policy, so
that's
I
true.
wouldn't lump them with that,
Right.
but I think it could be a standalone sentence. About honoring.
So if we,
I would be more in line with wanting to just pull it out, but I wouldn't put it up where, because there's no requirement that's in ORS about. For a diploma modified, extended, or certificate of attendance, the honorary you get. Because of your circumstance that you were in the military.
so what happened, well, honoraries could be anybody, doesn't have to be
But that's the
military.
big one, that's the big one.
But what I could, taking that suggestion from Tracy, we could end the sentence at requirements. And then add in a sentence saying that individuals receiving an honorary diploma can participate in graduation exercises also.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Because if the difference is that we have completion requirements for a diploma up top. And what just threw me is that it says because it benefits the community. Well, an honorary diploma benefits the community.
Right.
So to me, I'm like, well, why isn't it up there when it talks about benefiting the community
Benefit.
versus down here where it talks about completing requirements?
Is the board,
I think it,
oh no, go ahead, Holly. I'm sorry to
I
interrupt you.
think the first paragraph is a statement from the board and why the board believes that these things are important. And Tracy, you can correct me or disagree. I feel like the fourth paragraph is more where it's talking about the requirements, which is probably why there's more that's highlighted in gray as required. So if we believe that first paragraph is just a recognition from the board and what we as a board believe, I think it would be okay for that to have it in that first paragraph, because it's not referencing any of the requirements in that paragraph, right?
It's just us
It's
saying,
just saying that we recognize it as a benefit and it improves the community as well as the
I
individual.
can see that.
whereas down in that fourth
Yeah, I
paragraph,
think
it
it's more
talks about.
appropriate than the fourth, because the fourth, it is talking about the requirements, but that's currently where it's listed.
So yes, you're stating my point. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So we're back, that suggestion
Unless
takes us
that
back to
is-
that first sentence. Tracy, what do you think?
It's fine.
Okay, so just put it in as one of the options.
As one of the options, and because it's something that benefits, I agree, it
Yeah.
benefits. the-
And strike it from the fourth
And
paragraph.
strike it from where the fourth paragraph is
Where it
talking
is
about
talking
the
about
state
the
requirements.
requirements.
for-
That makes sense.
Successfully completed the requirement.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll move that to
Continue
the
to
list,
get
the
it
first
that's more
paragraph, and
benefit.
strike it from the fourth paragraph.
Yeah.
Good thing about Paul.
Yeah.
First,
Welcome to the boring side of.
No,
fourth. All right.
The work of
Mince,
the
or we
full
mince
board.
words. That's.
With that one addition, is the board in favor of us bringing it to consent agenda as long as we make that change?
Mhm.
Okay, so next on our agenda, we have a personnel report with employee contracts, and that is in our board packet, which I can probably get to somewhere. I think there was 4 names, if I remember right.
Yes,
And so I think we can just, I would entertain a motion for those.
I move to approve the licensed new hires list for the 2025-2026 as presented.
I'll second. Okay, that was moved by Director Legatich and seconded by Director Hudabaugh. So, did I say that right? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that shows as unanimous. Our next item is the board and superintendent working agreements, and that has the board chair, who is not here today, and Superintendent Clank. Hand that over to you.
And you've been a part of our
I did, yeah.
conversations as well, so. I'll just kind of highlight some of the high level things that changed in this, and then we have. Probably one piece that I'll come back to at the end to kind of talk about a little bit. A couple of the changes based on the feedback that was provided at the retreat. Are in number 3. It says board members and the superintendent shall communicate regularly through meetings to share information. We struck the part that said 1 or 2 or 1 on 3, like meetings, that just sounded messy. And we can meet with whatever the appropriate numbers are. So that was one change.
And
That was at the bottom of page
Number
1.
3 under communication. agreement.
Yep,
Oh, just regularly through meetings, okay.
Yep. Other than that, there was some conversation in our retreat about. Let's see, the individual board members, I have that highlighted. But I don't think there was actually a change there in that paragraph after the bullets under 6. We had some conversation about accountability and updated the language there, so take a close look at that little paragraph.
From board committees, we can't remove somebody from the board that would take a.
Yeah,
we could all- we could remove them from the, I guess we could censure them, but.
And it did say that
Yeah.
before, so
Yeah.
we should have probably done this like we do policy and done strike. So before it said, it was very similar, but if board members are not following these agreements, a progression of actions will be in place for accountability purposes. This may include one-on-one conversation with the board chair or the removal from board committee. So we cleaned up a little verbiage, and actually that whole section might be new based on your conversations. from
Yeah,
the
that
retreat,
section
right?
is new
Okay.
from after the retreat.
Mhm. There was also, so any questions about the accountability piece before I move on? There was also, comments about board training and where that might fit in this agreement. And our conversation was really, that board training is probably more fits into that like board actions and shared goals kind of conversation that our goals committee will have. As opposed to having board training in a superintendent and board agreement piece. So we left that part out, knowing that we're continuing to work on the shared goals piece. And then some of the other feedback that we had included in our conversation was around our agenda items and kind of our process for that, which we have. We also talked about kind of a board self-reflection or self-evaluation that could be part of those board actions as well. So some of those pieces might fit better into some of that work that we've talked about elsewhere. So questions about that part, and then I'll take us to something that might be a little bit more of a conversation.
I don't think so.
Okay, so back on the front page, under number 3. Number 3 talks about confidentiality, and it popped up as kind of a question and a conversation point.
Where,
Page 1, number 3.
Under collaborative
Collaborative
governance,
governance.
number 3.
okay, because there's lots of number 3s.
Yes.
So I
Yeah,
wasn't
sorry.
sure which
The one under
page.
collaborative.
Under
Mhm.
collaborative government,
Yep.
number 3, okay, thank you.
So we had talked about how. Is that specific enough? How do we want to define that? Is this really the place for it? And so it was kind of one of those conversations that was kind of left unfinished when we left our retreat. So just kind of circling back, we did not make any changes to that in this agreement. And just kind of wanting to bring that back, if there's more conversation or clarification or what that really looks like.
I like that it's fairly short,
Mhm.
fairly concise.
To the point.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I think we talked a little bit in our leadership meeting just about whether the board knows what needs to be confidential. And how would a board member know that? So for new board members, just how we define that, so we're all looking at it the same. These meetings compared to our business meetings or one-on-ones or executive sessions. So. I don't know where we talked about defining that, but just that it would be good for us to all be on the same page.
I think it was just, a lot of it was good conversation, so obviously executive sessions have to be, confidential. And even for board members that aren't in attendance, they aren't purview to that information either. And then we did talk about like one-on-ones. I would be under the assumption that those probably are confidential conversations. And yet that might not be everybody's understanding, or there might be pieces of those conversations that aren't confidential. So I think us just being clear and asking the question, even if it's in the moment, like, is that something I can share? Like, it'd be better to ask for clarification purposes than
I agree.
to overshare. But
And we also talked about, when you're sending out emails or you're giving us information, having that be in the subject line. Because we are kind of that liaison between community and we do get asked, so. It's important for us to know
Yeah.
what we can and can't share.
And I think also on the one-on-ones, sometimes it's a sounding board. And
Yeah.
so it's not a fully finished idea yet. It's kind of seeing, how does this flow? Is there more things to look at? And so that's where it would, could preface the conversation with, this is just it's just an idea, and looking to find out what else needs to be incorporated into it.
very much so, yeah. Any other questions about that? That feel like it's ready to go?
What was the thought of? You were saying that board training, self-evaluation, that kind of stuff would be someplace else, and why would that be? Not even having board training as a broad. Part of the agreement is we expect board members to be aware of what our goals and responsibilities are, but in a general term, what are we supposed to be doing here? And it just seems like that would be part of, and knowing where the line is between you're in charge of this and the board is in charge of that,
Right,
up to a point.
right.
So how does that?
So because the board action piece, so remember, we have our 4 conditions and we talked about the board having different actions for each of those conditions. That board training could be one of the actions that the board is taking connected to those things. Because it could be about whatever topic. There is one that's in safety that's kind of more around governance in terms of, that's where we kind of fit that information, so it could be part of that. I'm okay either way, but it was
We
kind
talked
of.
a little bit about it not being, just differentiating that between our own goals as a board, whether that should be the place or whether this, but the training wouldn't be training with the superintendent, where these are agreements between the board and the superintendent. So that's why we didn't want to mix those and have it be part of the board goals. We can talk more about that as a board if we want.
It
but
might not be, I might not be fully, because it feels
We knew
like
we were
it would
gonna
be part of the collaborative
meet.
governance piece, that if you're gonna be effective in collaborative governance, it just seems like you ought to be taking a little bit of training to understand what it is that you're doing. What are you actually governing and what are you actually being collaborative about, where it doesn't really, and that would be just part of the working agreements that you would. Whether you attend something, you do something online, how are you going to enforce these? How are you going to enact them?
We
If there
did.
Isn't any.
We did talk a little bit about putting it under collaborative governance, something that just says the board and the superintendent will develop shared goals to be evaluated annually, and that would be a part potentially of the shared goals would be board training.
I wonder. It's a very broad statement in here,
A lot
but
of it is for us.
I wonder if the intention of number 4. Members of the board and the superintendent shall work together as a team, modeling lifelong learning and collaboration. If the training is lumped into that, because the assumption is if you're a lifelong learner around board things, then you are attending training. So I wonder if it's in there, it's just not.
It's just a little bit
just-
soft in
yeah.
there, could be.
What if it's lifelong learning through training?
What,
Or like, is there a way to?
Put action to it instead of just a thought. Because
Yeah.
right now it's just a really nice thought.
Yeah.
But do we want to, because part of saying in whatever agreement that we have, that we support and encourage training. Means then that there's budget money available, that we're going to put resources to it, that we're gonna put time to it. Whether in a work session or something like that, it just is a little bit more than modeling lifelong learning.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
Um,
My thought.
yeah, no, I'm trying to. I like the modeling lifelong learning, and I don't want to necessarily limit it to training, because maybe that lifelong learning is I'm hooking up with somebody from Sandy and
Right.
having a peer-to-peer relationship. Hey, what's your experience? This is my
It
experience.
could be reading books, it could
Could
be
be
going to
reading books, it
conferences,
could
it
be-
could
Yeah.
be.
You know,
That is all of that,
Yeah.
but this, as it is, doesn't really.
Yeah, I just don't know that I would call all of those things training, or if we say training, do people think of those things also?
Is
Or maybe
there,
there's another word other than training that we can
Mhm.
use for that.
I mean, really falls into professional development.
Yeah.
That's kind of the big bucket.
well, and maybe that lifelong learning through professional development and collaboration.
I like that.
I like that, I can
Yeah.
work with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So just add it through.
Yeah.
You know, professional development there.
yeah,
I like that.
I can work with that.
Cool, Sean.
It's almost like I work on these things.
Okay, so any other?
Okay.
This one is also an action item, so if we don't have more discussion, then I would give a motion.
Is this something that actually goes public any place? Is it on the website? So if somebody says, gosh, what does the board do? We have working agreements with the superintendent. Is it
Good
posted any place? I don't know. I don't know anymore. It's
I
posted.
think I had posted it in the library when we were using board docs.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's obviously in the board agenda, like,
Right,
like
right.
it's public because it's attached to that.
Uh-huh.
But as far as like our district website, we haven't posted it like on the board page or anything like that in the past.
It is more of an internal document, I guess, it's not really between us and the public, it's more between us and the superintendent, because this is our working agreements with the
Well,
superintendent.
and us on us too. because
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just wanna know where to look it up.
Yeah.
So if it's on our board
just sorry.
documents, then I can look at it.
Yeah, good question.
We're gonna have to adjust this motion slightly because we've made the addition.
Yeah,
So it's as amended.
As revised,
amended.
correct, yeah.
As amended.
Okay. I move to approve the board and superintendent working agreement as amended.
second.
Okay, the motion was made by Dr. Sean Barnes and seconded by Director Ligatich. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed? So that one is unanimous. Yay, then, yeah, look at that. We can keep working together. Okay, number 7 is the superintendent evaluation process, and that one also has Superintendent Kleiner's name.
yes, okay, so superintendent evaluation process, so this. We went through pretty quickly, in our retreat. And overall, it seemed that the process in terms of timeline, and in terms of like action steps, that part all seemed acceptable to folks. Knowing that this is kind of an interesting year because my evaluations are due in March and we're figuring it out now, so there's not a lot of time. But some of the feedback from the meeting was that, to take a look at the scoring scale. So if you go to the bottom of the second page, there is a little bit of a change there. We had the conversation about really the scoring is based on my progress towards certain actions that I would be doing. And what felt like it was missing in terms of the feedback was some of the like timeline pieces. So you'll see like on the 4, it says, completing objectives ahead of schedule. Meets objectives, will likely achieve their objectives on schedule. The two, may need additional time or resources to get on track and maybe behind schedule. And then the one significantly behind schedule. So that's the piece that changed. So it's still about progress, but there is a little bit of a time connection to that.
I like it because it holds, well, you accountable, but then also holds us accountable too, because there's things that are, you know, that we need to, like, we need to have your evaluation done by March, right? You know, the one question I had is in here, it says contractual items is October 1st, you need to have your goals. Is there gonna be it won't be an executive, a work session held at the October, I think it might be even be October 1 or 2 here in a couple of weeks, so you could give your goals.
So I have them drafted. I'm not uncomfortable sharing them in a public session, but Sarah and I were like, okay, this really is about the process. And it certainly could be, that we do an executive session
Well, I'm not saying
or a work
a work session,
Yeah.
whatever we would call it, like.
Yeah,
Meet at 6 instead of
yeah.
7, so you. 'Cause
And-
we've done that.
It might be two separate things then, right? We could approve the process and I did print them. Can we then just have that conversation about the goals and actions?
If you want it in, well, I mean. I guess it
You mean
depends on
tonight?
if you want, yeah, tonight, if you want it in public session. Usually the goals are presented in executive session,
Yeah.
Whatever.
because it results in your. evaluation.
I pretty much already presented them in public session at the retreat. I guess is where I'm kind of like it feels okay. I've developed them a little bit further and put more examples. So it feels a little more concrete maybe for all of you.
I would wonder if we didn't put that out to the public, saying it's one of the things that we would be discussing tonight.
Right.
So they haven't had notice.
Yeah,
I'd wonder about process.
it would be a couple of days late. I can't remember what date the meeting is, but at least we'll be hitting it right around there, so we're not out of compliance with our agreement to you.
Mhm.
Yeah, October 2nd, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a day late, but
Yeah.
And I did leave our meeting thinking that we were pretty well on track with
Mhm.
where we were at, so I'm comfortable. Us being a few days late, as long as we're not thinking it's completely different.
well, I just wanna make sure because often, and I blame myself because I served on the evaluation committee for James. Things would be like a month or two delayed,
Mhm.
and I don't want that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Yeah.
if we could kind of start off on the right foot, even though it's a day late. Coming in at 6,
Mhm.
now granted, that's me talking because I won't be here, but
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
Well, and that kind of brings up just a little bit, they have made the timeline for making sure that the superintendent evaluation is done
Yeah.
on time. The final part is done on time, where I believe, in my memory, if it's not done on time, it's an automatic extension contract. So it's
And
the-
James's was different because
Because he was-
yeah,
Interim.
He was, yeah,
interim and.
yeah.
Logan
And
was-
retired.
different,
Yeah, it
but-
was,
But that's one of those that newly passed, a couple of years ago that said. You gotta get on the stick, you gotta get this thing done, and if you don't, then the penalty to the board is. You just earned yourself another year on your superintendent contract.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
we had
so-
discussion too, I think at the retreat, also in our leadership meeting, just about us wanting to really refine the process,
Mhm.
because we've had multiple different processes in the past few years since I've been on the board at least, and so just making it a more succinct process that we all understand that we can hopefully continue with for more than just 1 year.
And our board superintendent evaluation committee hasn't met yet, so some of this
Yeah.
goal stuff might actually happen there. But what I will share is I have added more examples of like the specific work that might happen related to the goals. And I've also crosswalked it with, the OSBA.
Got it.
And I don't know how the rubric,
Yeah.
I don't know how helpful that is, but it was an interesting activity.
So you're
different-
going back to doing the OSBA, okay, I was gonna
No,
say,
I was looking at where the things I've done, or like drafted out to make sure that they still aligned with the OSBA thing, and they do. But it's not as clean, like visionary leadership might actually be in two different of my goals, but they package it together.
So is this getting pushed out?
I think, um,
I think we could take action
yeah,
if
I think
people
we
are
can take
comfortable on the
action tonight
evaluation.
and then
process.
know that this is still a process and the superintendent evaluation committee still will be meeting, so there could be things coming forward, but I think we can do that. I also will just publicly welcome Director Coleman Cox to our meeting, and we're on the superintendent evaluation process, just I'm sure you've picked up on that already, just so you know. Okay, so I would welcome a motion if there is one.
I move to approve the superintendent evaluation process for the 2025-26 school year as presented.
Second.
Okay, so that was moved by Director Ligachich and seconded by Director Howitt. All those in
And
favor say
just
yes.
confirm.
Oh, is there any further discussion?
Yeah, yes,
Thank you.
just to make sure everybody's real clear on
Thank
what
you.
this is gonna be, so.
Any further discussion?
Okay.
I think I didn't do that on the last time.
People.
No discussion? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that show that as unanimous, and I believe that is the last action item. We're now up to discussion items. We have future board agenda topics. And we've been going over those in our leadership meetings to make sure those are all taken care of and setting out a timeline for those. So that's kind of a in process item. And then announcements, we have a regular board business meeting at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of the Public Safety and School Buildings on October 2nd. And if there's nothing else, that will.
So just for,
Yeah.
just for clarification, so that the public knows how.
Yeah.
The board does get things on an agenda, that we do have a process to be able to
Yeah.
present those, they're reviewed. To see whether or not there's time, interest and availability for it,
Yeah.
so it's not just decided. By the leadership.
Yeah.
But that we have an access point to it as well.
Yeah.
And not everything that's put forward. Gets on an agenda, sometimes timing or whatever, so it is available. Saying that, do we all have access to it now? Did any of it change from before?
Yes.
We've
Okay.
decided everyone has access.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's still the same, okay?
Yeah. And the other piece that we've been doing is you brainstormed on your Post-it notes, different agenda items. And so I've added that to the board planner too,
Working
to
on
kind of map
filing
out, some of those things are already on the like
Yeah.
annual agenda.
Grouping and
Yeah,
Okay.
planning by time and all of those
so
things.
that's
So it's,
happening too.
yeah, in
Can we-
process.
Can we back up 1 second?
Yeah.
Chris, when you said we all have access to it, is that the
The
public
spreadsheet.
testimony or?
No.
what is-
No, I'm talking about
The-
putting future board agenda topic.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you want to talk.
okay.
Yeah.
there's that.
The Google
request.
Same,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Google Docs.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, and then it goes to the spreadsheet and then leadership reviews it with superintendent. Maps out as far as timeline, groups together, common topics, see
There's the request from.
evaluates to see if some of those are already addressed in items that are already on our calendar.
Okay.
And then kind of go from there.
And did some of those, does it start fresh with? There's lots of things that are fresh. It's a new superintendent, we have new
Yeah.
board members.
It was pretty
Did it
cleaned
come-
up.
I think it was pretty
There,
cleaned up.
there was maybe a couple of carryover things,
Yeah.
but it's pretty cleaned up.
Okay. I haven't looked
Before
at it
Tracy
lately.
started, yeah,
Go to
Okay.
Google Sheets.
Okay.
for it.
maybe 2 or 3 things that were carryover that were noted as going to take place in the future anyways.
Okay, and so on some of those, then, no, I can think of a couple of things where I know there were some notes that said it has been reviewed. Either because of budget or other circumstances, it's not viable.
Right.
And so that way it doesn't continue to show up.
Right.
As something for request, someone could go back and look at it and say, oh, we've already discussed.
Yeah, I wanna say we
certain
decided to
topics.
just strike those out. I can't remember now, so
I
they're
don't know.
seen,
There's
but
a-
Archive.
Yeah.
They put like
Archive.
archived.
Yeah.
There's
It's still
a
available as
separate
well.
tab.
So you could look
So you
at it
can
and say,
see-
oh, someone's already brought that up, it's already
Yeah.
been discussed, is there any new information to it? Maybe not, then stop adding it to the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing.
Yep.
And if you ever don't know where that form is, you can just email Sarah, right? We can either
he
send
could
it out-
resend you the.
Yeah,
The link.
yeah.
Sometimes they get a little buried and it's like,
Yeah.
if you don't remember what it's called, it's hard to search for them.
Searching for his board doesn't.
Yeah,
help.
topics.
Yeah.
Topics, yeah, topics. Okay, so if there's no other items before the board, I call this meeting to close. We're adjourned at
6:45.
6:45.
Yeah, I didn't jinx it.
The end.
We're gonna penalize you, they're gonna sanction of some sort.
Oh, yeah, totally. I know, I'm like
Hey,
texting.
Sarah.